Good afternoon, everybody. If I could please have your attention, if we could start getting to our seats. We're about to start our Athletic Hall of Fame ceremony. We've made it. It's been a couple years, but we are here. I can't believe it. I feel like every event that we have this year we get to celebrate because we've missed so much over the last few years. My name is Ryan Hooper. I'm the Director of Athletics here at the college. This is my first year as director, so this is a very special ceremony for me because this is my first class as director. So I want to thank you all for being here. I know we have a lot of alumni, we have a lot of Hall of Famers, faculty, staff, administrators. It's just wonderful to see everybody here, all the families. This is just absolutely fantastic today. In a few minutes, we're going to be bringing up our Hall of Fame inductees and let them kind of share some of their stories. It's going to be a little bit different than we've done in the past, but I think it's going to be really special to hear from those of you that are being inducted today. Before we do that, I do want to share some highlights from the department and some updates that maybe you don't know that are happening within the department. Then I'm going to have our president, Dr. Cardea, come up and say a few words for us as well. But first, let's congratulate this year's 2021 Hall of Fame class. With Lee Aldrich of men's soccer and tennis, Andrea Bradford Decker of softball, Dr. Patricia Kennedy of swimming and diving, Neira of men's basketball, Mary Velan of women's soccer and track and field, Chris Williams of baseball, and our honorary member, Dr. Barton Ingersoll. Now this has been it's been a wonderful year in athletics. It's been a very difficult year for us working our way out of COVID. Tracy never told me all of what went into this position, and I have a lot more grays than I started with back in October, so I'm going to thank her for that one. But it really has been an amazing year just to be able to fulfill all of our seasons. We didn't have to cancel any games. All of our student athletes were able to have their full student athlete experience, and that's always been the goal for the student athletes. I'm sure a lot of you have been here and been walking around campus. Hopefully you've seen some of our athletic facilities and the updates that have happened. Even since I came here in 2014, we have 4 new turf fields. For baseball just came in a couple years ago, soccer, men's and women's lacrosse, field hockey, and we just finished our softball field this past spring. We by far have the best facilities in the Northeast. We are currently resurfacing our arena. That's going to look brand new in a couple months, and that is why we are in here today, which I think is kind of nice. It's a little more intimate. And we also have a lot of projects coming up in the next few years. The pool project, we're going to be expanding on our pool, adding in a diving well, and a bunch of other ways to support our students on campus and our athletic department. And we couldn't do it without the support of our alumni. We couldn't do it without the support of our president and our administrators and facilities department on campus. Academically, our students continue to thrive. They work so very hard to do so well in the classroom. They continue to have a higher GPA than the general population of students. They're well above a 3.0, and that wasn't easy this year because by and large a lot of the students struggled, but our student athletes still got it done. And I think that's a testament to our staff, and that's a testament to the hard work that they put in not only in the classroom but outside of the classroom as well. I always write all these notes, but I never actually read them. No, there's certain things I'm sure my staff is tired of hearing about all these, but certain things I'd like to touch on for our student athletes because it was a very special year for everything that they were able to accomplish. We did over 5,500 hours of community service this year and raised almost $4,000 for charities, and that is something that I think this year, thank you. And it looked a little bit different this year just because of what we were able to do coming out of COVID, but that's a testament to our students and the priority that they put on their service. That is one of the pillars of the college, and that is very important to us in athletics. We also had some really fantastic giving campaigns this year. We continue to fundraise because there's needs that the department has that we can't fit in our budget, and we're going to find ways to fulfill those by fundraising. We're going to be getting back to our Dining for Champions event this year on September 25th. We hope everybody will be able to join us for that. We had 3 days of giving this past April. It was the first time that we had 3 days of giving in an athletic challenge during the Powered by You campaign. And we were able to raise over $35,000 for our Student Athlete Travel Fund, $10,000 of which was donated by Jim and Carol Baker as a matching donation. And some of you are in this room that actually donated to that campaign, so I just want to say thank you. All those dollars go right back to our student athletes to support their travel. And athletically, we had a really wonderful year. 75% of our teams were in the top half of the conference. The majority of them made conference championships, We had some conference champions in wrestling. Our 165-pounder, Tyler Brzezinski, won the conference championship in his weight class. We had a women's track and field athlete, won the conference championship in the 10K. And our women's tennis team won their first conference championship in program history and went on to NCAAs and actually won their first round matchup, which is, to me, it was special because it was my first conference championship this year. And to be the first one for the program was amazing. So both them and our men's soccer team both competed in NCAAs. So we were still able to compete at a high level, and we couldn't do that without the framework and the groundwork that's been laid by the people in this room here today. What you've done for our department and for this campus as Hall of Famers, as supporters, whether you realize it or not, has made a huge impact. So I encourage you to continue to collaborate and make those connections with the coaches, with our student athletes. And truly, enjoy today. This day is for you. It was funny. Excuse me. I was at practice last night. My son plays baseball. And I was at practice last night. And he has a game today. And we were talking. I'm like, buddy, I'm not going to be able to make your game because I'm going to our Hall of Fame induction ceremony. And he's 7, so he really doesn't understand the magnitude of what today is. So we were talking, and he's like, Daddy, what is that? I'm like, well, guess what? I get to hang out and meet and celebrate the best athletes and the best administrators that SUNY Oneonta Athletics has ever had. And that is a very special moment that I get to have right now. And he's like, well, Daddy, are you in the Hall of Fame? I'm like, no, I'm not even close to the talent that's in this room. But it's one of those things as you kind of sit there and I'm watching him practice. You start to get emotional because you think of all the hard work that's been put in to get you here today, and you're able to share it with your families. And I'm hoping someday that I get to share that with him and just celebrate anything that he may do in his future. Thank you, Jerry. I apologize. There we go. But truly, I'm going to stop talking now, I promise. But enjoy today. Today is for you. I hope you take every moment with your families and really just enjoy the experience. I had a few more things to say, but I think I'm gonna call it quits right there. At this point, I would like to introduce our president, Dr. Alberto Cardea, who joined us this past fall, and we're extremely lucky to have him. So, Dr. Cardea.
Thank you, Ryan. So first of all, congratulations to all the inductees. Welcome back to all the alumni and all former administrators and staff and faculty who are here. As similar to Ryan, as having just started in September as a new president, this is my first alumni weekend and my first induction ceremony. So I'm very honored and privileged to be here. My understanding, if I do the math right, is that there's today's inductees span a range of 5 decades, 50 years, ranging in all the sports that we heard, and an honorary inductee that was a former chief of police. So I think that captures the breadth of what athletics means to this institution and what it represents. But more importantly, it really talks about, as Ryan mentioned, that this is, in this room, is the foundations of everything that we will continue to build upon. The institution could not be where it is today had not been for many of you in this room, if not all of you in this room, in one way or another, to being a part of the history of the institution. And as I said earlier in the breakfast this morning, like building the walls upon which the future generations and future athletes will stand upon, so that they can get to new heights. So in addition to celebrating your contribution to your sports, your contribution to the institution and to the public, to the future of the athletic program in one way or another, it's more important as well to remember that you're building the possibilities for future generations of athletes to be in your shoes in years to come. I hope that this is not the last time that we see many of you, but that you will continue to come back and engage the campus in not only through sports, but that'd be great, but in other events. We cannot, the institution is not only, it is not only the buildings, but it is those that occupy the buildings and have made those histories in those buildings on this campus, and we need to be reminded of that. So please continue to come and be a part of this institution moving forward, because we just hope to continue to build on the past and continue to create more greatness, similar to what we already see here today and we'll be celebrating here today. So thank you very much, and with that, we will proceed then to the awardees, for which is what we're here for. Thank you.
At this point, we're going to turn it over to Jeff Hazard, our Assistant Athletic Director and Sports Information Director. He's also the chair of our Hall of Fame committee and the reason that most people are in this room today. So Jeff Hazard.
Thanks, Ryan. It's great to see everybody. This certainly is always a special event for me. It's really, when I got here 23 years ago, we had our first ceremonies in the atrium of the field house. So for those of you who remember that, it was just as intimate as it is now in the atrium of the field house, until we expanded into the gymnasium and turned it into sort of like an extravaganza. And here we are now, getting it back to our roots, kind of intimate, and so I certainly am excited to see everybody. Yes, it's been almost, it's been over 2 years. We thought we were going to be able to induct everybody in December, but that didn't work. We didn't want to push too much with the COVID and masking and all that that we had to do with the campus, so we just wanted to make sure that we could do this event right. And that's always been bottom line, is doing this event right, because it's all about the alumni. I've met so many wonderful people during my time here, former student athletes that I never even saw compete, that have become friends. Ricky Andoli, for instance, just people that share common bonds in athletics and greatness, and that's what makes Oneonta Athletics great, is just the student athletes and the former administrators who have made this program so wonderful. So before we start inducting our class this year, I didn't think I was going to need it. It's unusual that I would need that. So for all those who know, I love to talk. So we're going to recognize those Hall of Famers, and there are quite a few of them here today. We ask that you please stand when I call your name, and please, if we could hold our applause until the end, that would be wonderful. We have Don Albin, class of 72. We have Don Axtell's wife and her son, and his son, here to represent Don Axtell, baseball coach. Dave Bailey, Don Ball, Mike Barron, Malcolm Ted Beers, Keith Benjamin, Trish Jager Bergen, Dick Burr, Don Fewelling, Vince Fody Sr., Jane Grassdorf, Joe Howarth, Donald Jester, Robert Sandy Jones. We have Elizabeth McGrail, Laura Marcone, Ralph Perez, Dr. Steve Perry, Mike Pacintalek, Farouk Qureshi, David Ranieri, Kristen Marulo-Shear, and Rick Yandoli. And I'm hoping that we didn't miss anybody on the checkout. Did I miss? John Fleming snuck in. All right, John, thank you very much. Here's our Hall of Famers that are already on our wall over in the field house. Thank you very much for coming. Mr. Kuhn, Dr. Kuhn, thank you very much for coming. And Don Swalling would know that. Thank you very much, Don. So as I said, just to give you an idea of how this will proceed, because again, it is just a little bit different format. In recent years, for those who have come, you know, I spend a little time and a little Q&A with each one of the inductees on the stage, but we're not going to do that. I already spent time doing that, and I encourage you to go to our YouTube channel, and also we have a podcast where we did extended full interviews that were anywhere between 25 and 30 minutes, just getting to know our inductees. Very special time. I love doing that. Again, for those who know me, that's really my bread and butter, and I just love talking with the inductees and spending time with them because they're just so outstanding and so excellent. So I actually, what did we do? We had Dr. Pat Kennedy, who now is living in Cooperstown, and Bart Ingersoll actually were in person. So that was pretty awesome to get them into studio to be able to do their interviews. The other ones, we utilized technology and did a little Zoom. For all those people who are familiar with Zoom in this remote location, remote world, but those went just as well, and they were just as special. So I encourage you to go to our YouTube channel and download the podcast, and you can listen to them forever. They're there forever. So thank you. So as I mentioned, what we're going to do is we're going to bring each inductee up one at a time. They will be presented with their medallion and their framed certificate, where they will get a photo, and then we will ask them to come to the podium for some brief remarks, some thank yous, and we were asking them to share one special moment or memory from their time here at Oneonta that will be included. And then after that, they will proceed. This is new, okay, and I really think I'm going to love this, is they're going to get to unveil their own Hall of Fame plaque, which we have not been able to do, so this is a good addition. So we're going to do that, and they will get another photo. We do ask that there will be plenty of time at the end of today's ceremony for all the family photos and everything with the plaques. So we're going to do that at the end, but right for now, we're just going to have our photographers do just the one photo of them when they unveil their plaques. So we appreciate that. Thank you. So let's get started. Our first individual started here and actually spent his career as the chief of police here. And I would say 100% I'm glad he was on our side as the chief of police from the athletics end. So was here for 20 years. When he earned his doctorate, he then took on the role as Associate VP for Student Development, and he became our direct report. And during that time, as Ryan mentioned, I mean, you just see all the growth, the facilities, student-athlete experience, all of those things he was an advocate for and went to the rug for us. I mean, he fought for us. And we got a lot of the things that we now have because of his efforts and his support, not just within our college for the student-athlete experience, but also within the conference, the SUNY Act. There were a lot of things that happened during the SUNY Act during his time, you know, that he was a part of fighting for to make, again, the student-athlete experience, which is what it's all about in Division III, better at a conference level as well. So we cannot thank him enough for being on our side. So at this time, he also served time on our Hall of Fame committee, and he was also on the Intercollegiate Athletics Board and all kinds of committees on campus, again, with the emphasis of making things better for students on this campus. You know, a lot of times you think that the chief of police is all about law and order, you know, which thankfully, yes, but also they do understand that this is all about the students and the experience that they have as students here at the college. So it gives me great pleasure. Please welcome our first inductee, Dr. Bart Ingersoll. This is being live streamed, by the way, so I just have to move the camera back and forth so we make sure we capture everybody. So.
First off, I'd like to thank some individuals who really made my life easy here. And a mentor, actually I had two. One was my outside the campus university, and that was Vince Fode, who took me under his wing and really pushed me along to get my doctorate, and a great golf partner. The second was Dr. Perry. When the athletics was assigned from academics over to student life, I got tapped, and I wasn't certain I wanted it, but you know, having a background in college athletics, playing college athletics, I decided it would be one of the best things for me to do is really to get more involved with the students. And then we got one of the best athletic directors in Tracy Ranieri. But along with that, I got time to spend with students. And one of the greatest times I ever had was the women's soccer team. And I appreciate that present. That was beautiful. Thank you. It's about the students, and it's about their experience here, and about success. And I think that once we came to a point on the men's soccer that we had to do something to be successful. Going on the field to win less than 50% of your games is not success. That's not creating success for a student. And we made the decision to go to Division III. And obviously from our records, NCAA appearances over the years, it was the right decision at the right time. I want to thank Jeff for all you've done for athletics. I know you work hard nights and days and weekends, and the rest of the athletic staff for all their support, Ian Byrne and Chris. I saw Chris there. Hard to name them all, but I really appreciate all the support they gave me. They don't understand. They were more support for me than I was. Thank you. Okay, we're good. Thanks, Josh.
Our next inductee, I had the pleasure of watching for 4 years. What a wonderful, wonderful soccer player she was. For those of you who had a chance to watch her play, certainly a special individual. She is the only, and again, we've had some incredible soccer players here, but she is the only woman to be a 4-time All-American, which is incredible. And she not only was an All-American in soccer, but she was also an All-American in track and field because she could run pretty fast, as we all know. So she was a member of a relay squad that was All-American and helped us finish 3rd at the NCAA championships in 2006. So she had it going on in 2 sports, and you'll understand, and we all know why she's being inducted into our Hall of Fame. She just is an amazing individual, you know, and I always share a story with her. You know, my 2 sons, Garrett and Gunnar, who were growing up at the time when she was here and got to watch her play, and they still remember her name. Like, they will always talk about Mary Velan, which is kind of crazy. So there's the impression that you made, not only on us, but on like 4- and 6-year-old boys who are looking to idolize athletes. So congratulations to everything you've accomplished. Please help me welcome into our Athletic Hall of Fame, Mary Velan.
it's a tough act to follow Dr. Ingersoll when I was trying to stay out of his office for the 4 years that I was in college. So it's an honor to follow you. Thank you. So this is one of the most amazing honors that anyone can get, and I can't thank those that thought enough of my accomplishments to give me that honor. It's one of the, dreams that every collegiate athlete wishes that they had, and few are those that are able to receive that honor of being inducted into the Hall of Fame. One where your accomplishments and your memory goes up on the wall of your university forever. And when I thought about that, it's an accomplishment that people like Jagger and Laura and myself and every other person that got to stand up, it's an event or an honor that will outlive us. And it's an event and an honor that's going to go up on a wall where your story can live on beyond us. And that is something I'm so proud of. And those walls that plaque is going to go up on are the same walls that when I was in high school, for 4 years, I idolized my sister, who's here, playing for Oneonta State Soccer under DR and TR, Tracy Reneri. And I wanted to be that dream. I wanted to go to this university and follow in those footsteps of those athletes and those national champions. And I didn't know if I could. I didn't have the confidence. I didn't think I was that good. And I made that team, and it felt like my dreams came true. And then I got this second set of parents in my life that I never thought would even be possible, because my parents are as good as it gets. And we were asked to tell a memory, and what I actually have written down is, climbing the highest peak in Brazil and taking trips to Florida. I couldn't think of something specific. And then Tracy came running over to me and reminded me that my very first goal in my very first game at Oneonta State, I ran over to the sidelines and I asked her, can I get subbed? And she looked at me and was like, no, you can't just come out of the game. And I was like, I just peed my pants. I gotta go. So talk about mental toughness. I had to play the rest of the game, soiled, so thank you. But in all seriousness, those that I don't want to leave out for such a big honor, I don't think I would have run track if it weren't for Matt LaPiccolo having a conversation with me. I only ran track 1 year in high school, and he believed in me enough to be a part of the team. And that has continued onward beyond college, where I've run 4 marathons, and now it's a part of my daily activity. And that wouldn't have been possible without that coaching staff. My babysitter in high school, who kept me in line, and still keeps me in line when I don't return phone calls, Liz McGrail, I was fortunate enough to have her as my senior year coach at Oneonta State Soccer, and that was a blessing. My best friend, who is also my teammate, was my officiant at my wedding. So my children and my wedding are definitely the biggest accomplishment in my life, and I had a teammate that was able to represent that. I landed my first full-time job because of my coach, Tracy Reneri, who went to bat for me and gave me one of the best references I could have asked for. I got my dream home during COVID. We all know how prices are spiked right now. And I was able to do that because some of it needed fixing up, and it's on 8 acres of land, which I don't know why I did that. But Dave Ranieri taught us how to be strong, independent women and flip houses when we weren't playing soccer, so I was able to get that house because of him. Making this event possible, Jeff Hazard, thank you so much for your patience with me and thinking highly of me. The education and staff that I was able to continue on with. In the last but not least, I have 2 specific areas. My sisters, always chasing my middle sister, Susie, who went on and played D2 soccer, and I wanted to be just like her. So I always try to beat her and be better than her. But really, it's my oldest sister, Rose, who's with us. I would not have stepped foot at Oneonta State Soccer if it were not for her. My life would have been totally different. I would have gone to a different university. I would have chased a different dream. I would have had different coaches. Who knows if it would have led to my wife and my kids. So I have so much thanks to be given to my older sister. And then last but not least, I know I'm up here for more than my 5 minutes, but it's my father and my mother who gave the resources and the financial investment to drive me 2 hours each way twice a week for an 8 o'clock practice at night from our house for Olympic development training. I know that was a lot of money. I know that was a big commitment. Now that I have kids and a job, I don't know how my parents did that. So thank you to everyone. I'm sure there's many that I forgot, but this is a great honor. Thank you.
Last time I didn't turn it towards me, but of course people don't want to really look at me, so that's all right. So the 8 acres of land, I'm assuming you're going to build a soccer field. Okay, that's what I thought. So our next inductee, incredible swimmer for us back in the mid to late 60s, part of our early years of swimming and diving here for the women. When I first spoke with her on the phone and I had her send me, after finally tracking her down, she was a tough woman to get a hold of, but we got her. And actually, thankfully, she moved to locally here in Cooperstown, which made it even easier to get stuff from her. But I had her just send me information. I'm like, listen, just send me some general information about your time here, you know, and I'll take it from there. I'll put something together. Well, needless to say, I got a book of incredible accomplishments. I mean, you know, I will, you know, have you look in the program with some information, but that's just not even touching, I mean, that's not even close. I tried to summarize it as best I could for what she has accomplished. I mean, she's a lawyer, she's an accomplished author, she's been a professor, I mean, I was amazed that she's an Oneonta grad. So congratulations for all the stuff that you have accomplished, because I tell you, what a role model you are for younger people, because your credentials are impeccable, and Oneonta, Oneonta. This is the thing that's the best thing for me, when I get to see and meet people that I have no idea who they are, and then you get to read about them and you get to learn about them, and you're just like, wow, this is why Oneonta is so awesome. Okay? So it is great pleasure to please welcome Dr. Patricia Kennedy into our Athletic Hall of Fame.
She's a swimmer too.
She denies it. It's not fair. Too many people are tall, and I always thought I was the tall one. But my granddaughter's here, and now she's passed me by 2 inches, I think, so it's a bit of a shock. Thank you, Jeff, for tracking me down. And there's a bunch of people sitting at my table right now, including my daughter and granddaughter, who came from Texas for this, because they said, hey, family support, and my sister Betsy, who is a graduate of Oneonta as well. I brought my mask because I didn't have Kleenex in case I start crying. I'll be using that. And a whole bunch of Hall of Famers from swimming and their supporting loved ones. I mean, did you see how many people were standing up at that table? Sandy Jones, Don Ball, Ted Bears, Keith Benjamin, pretty amazing. And what Jeannie told me, one of my fellow swimmers from back in the dark ages, was that they've tried very, very hard to show up for these events and support those of us who are being inducted into the Hall of Fame and attending other alumni events. And one of the things that I did when I went back to school to get a PhD, at age 50, by the way, was I was the oldest kid in my class for that. I did a lot of data crunching, which, you know, I was not a great statistician. Anybody who was with me in math here at Oneonta knows that wasn't my strong field. But anyway, I looked at this whole list of inductees, and I see a lot of people from swimming who showed up here, but I also see that there hasn't been anybody from swimming since 2010. So I am totally delighted that the selecting body decided that it was about time for another swimmer to show up here, because this is really wonderful. I know I only have my 5 minutes, and I know that some people have stolen it already. But what I wanted to especially say about being here has to do with Don Ball. And I'm delighted that he came. I met him first, I think, in Florida at the Swimming Hall of Fame when he brought the men's team down there. And my parents brought us down there to, you know, you're going to be good swimmers, so we're going to go to the Swimming Hall of Fame. And I met some of the men swimming there, and he said, well, if you came to Oneonta, I think I was a junior in high school at the time, I'd let you swim with the men's team. Because the women were just starting a team under Lee Abbott, and there were very few colleges in the country who had women's swimming team. I looked at Vassar. They had a swimming pool that was about half the size of this room, and they had about 4 women on it. And I thought, well, hey, once I saw the Oneonta swimming pool, this is the place I should be. And Don was incredibly welcoming, as were a number of the men at this table, to allow me to swim with them as a freshman, because in those days I had grandized plans that maybe I might go to the Olympics. I didn't make that, but instead what I did is I ended up getting married here, and I had a small baby during my sophomore year here, and ended up nursing her in Don Ball's office so that I could trade off with my husband, Ron Megan, who is also a member of the Hall of Fame, and his brother, who is also a member of the Hall of Fame. So I'm delighted to be the first of the women in our family to make it there. And Jeff's making reference to, you know, oh, look at all these cool things that she's done. I did get to be a lawyer. I did get to get a PhD, and I have taught in college, and I've done a bunch of interesting, cool lawsuits. But part of that's because of Oneonta. When I was here at Oneonta in the 60s, the faculty here told us, you can do it. That was the message. Even there was a message I was hearing. The message I was hearing is, oh, you want to try that? You can do it. Go ahead, try it. Oh, you didn't do it the first time? Well, let's try it again. And that attitude, I think, is something that I think is still part of the Oneonta message. My sister Betsy, who has 5 kids, went back to school and finished her degree up here in 1997, and then went on to get a master's degree. So the message we got here was, you can do it. And I think there's proof in this room that that's the case. And I thank you very much for picking me this time.
There it says I held this record for the 25-yard freestyle, national record, and that's true for quite a long time. They stopped swimming it for women, so I got to hold it for a really long time because nobody else was swimming it.
next inductee, I also had the pleasure of watching for 4 years on the softball diamond. And just, again, an amazing, amazing player. You'll notice, one of the other good things I love about this is we get to look at their pictures from when they were here and see if there's been any changes. And I can tell you, if I were on a squeeze play coming home, I definitely know that I would stop before I got to Chris Williams. So I don't know if I would actually want to score. So that's a good picture. But you can see we have a couple of catchers. What is it about catchers in baseball and softball? Well, we do know that those are probably the most important positions on any field. And they are the general. And this person that is going to be inducted now was certainly the general of those teams that we had that were so amazing. A couple of SUNY championships. The very first one up on the field, right? Now it's turfed. Have you been up to see the new turf field? Okay, well, we played on it when it was pretty ratty looking. So in the beginnings. But we won a SUNY title that first year. And she was a very important part of it. And we came within, we came within 1 out of making it to the College World Series that senior year against Ithaca, which was still the greatest season we've ever had here at 38-10. It was such a special year to follow them and be on the wagon with softball. 4-time all-conference player, all-region player. She's still in the top 10 in many of our offensive categories, which is, when you think about it, that's still a long time. It's almost 20 years, and she still is in the top 10, which kind of tells you how good they were when they were playing, and they were playing. We have almost, I think I counted, 6 out of the 9 starting players from that team are in our Hall of Fame. Andrea will make it number 6. So you can say what kind of a team that was, and I know Flu knows that. So he was the coach of that team. She's been an elementary school teacher for 20 years since she graduated from college, and she's been there. She loves it. It was fun to talk to her about her classroom. And I think when I interviewed her, she had like all her artwork and stuff behind her. I don't know if that was one of her children, but it was just fun to see, elementary school teacher, you have your children and they're all doing that kind of arts and crafts type stuff, which I am because Garen Gunner never did arts and crafts. So, yes, just an incredible, incredible softball player. And it is my pleasure to welcome into the Hall of Fame, Andrea Bradford Decker.
Assignment, you said one memory, and I have quite a few I want to share. Right. Being a teacher.
Yes, being a teacher. We're good.
Oh, my. All right. I'm not used to speaking with a microphone, so I'm just going to use my teacher voice if that's okay. I just want to thank my family for coming today. It means a lot, all of your support. And I want to thank the Hall of Fame committee for considering me and nominating me. I still feel it's disbelief to me right now. And thank you for all of you for coming and supporting not only your family member but me as well. Thank you. Okay, so I have a few memories that I want to share. They are humble and they're simple. I remember not wanting to be dropped off on the first day. I was so scared to be by myself pretty much, but I made it through. I remember freshman orientation and making a friend that I still communicate with today. So it was really important that she reached out and we just connected, and it made me feel more comfortable. I remember meeting my college teammates for the first time and wondering how talented they might be and how I might, measure up to them. I remember traveling to West Point for fall ball as a freshman and starting in the outfield, but then being moved to catch, and right there and then that sealed my deal as a catcher for my career here. I remember traveling down south in Coach Flu's little Winnebago and the dog hair just flying around the whole time. I do remember that. Good memories. I remember my first and only home run over the left field fence while playing down south. I still have that game ball. I was not a home run hitter, but I can remember just the way it felt. It was smooth and effortless, and just it flew off the bat. I remember living for game days. I loved playing. I just loved playing. I remember cold cheese pizza, and a lot of you might know that as well. I remember teammates and friends, and I remember winning 2 SUNY championships. And just in summary, there are so many more memories, but I simply want to thank Oneonta for some of my best memories. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
It's also her birthday. What a birthday, huh? You'll always know what you did on your birthday. I was inducted into the Hall of Fame. Next individual in line with a lot of our great men's basketball players that we've had throughout our history at the college. Played in the mid to late 80s. Was a standout individual. He was all-conference one time. He's a 1,000-point scorer, which you would think we've had basketball here since, I mean, I know we've had it recorded back to the 30s and the 20s, but as far as 1,000-point scorers, we haven't had that many, and he's one of the few that we do have, which is quite an accomplishment. I mean, 1,000 points in basketball in college is the goal in the plateau, and certainly this individual reached that. He did play with one of our inductees, past inductees, Mike Basinelek, teammates that missed him by a year. Played with John Fleming. Okay, so I knew he was one of the Hall of Famers. I'm trying to think of how many, when you think about these super teams in the NBA now, there's not enough basketballs for the guys that are on the floor. I'm trying to think, how is there enough basketballs for the 2 guys that scored, 1,500 points? Well, a little less, but still, and 1,000. There wasn't enough. I can only imagine, but what a joy it would have been to watch those teams play. The ball must have been going in the basket a lot, right, Flu? Is that? Yeah. Certainly an incredible individual that's representing our men's basketball program and the history that it's had. Please welcome Neira to our Athletic Hall of Fame.
Well, thank you very much for this honor. If I knew that picture was going to be used so much, I would have tried a little harder before the photo op back in the 80s. I failed the test also for a memory. I played for Flu for basketball, and I couldn't find a memory I could share in public that was not R-rated. But my observation from this time at Oneonta is I never met a bunch of guys that got together and gelled so quickly on and off the court. We truly cared about each other. We truly had fun. Maybe it was despite Flu sometimes or to prove him wrong, but we really enjoyed our time together, and we bonded. And again, it was a great experience. And every athlete who's gone to Oneonta, I think, has had that opportunity or experience with their teammates and their friends. And what I wanted to do today was kind of take my time here, my 5 minutes, just to say thank you. I truly realize I would not be here without a whole host of people in my life. And I kind of categorized as my journey here as the families that I've been part of. I kind of start here. I first want to start with my parents and my siblings. None of this would have been possible without the huge sacrifice and commitment from my parents, driving to practices, sports games, and always providing their children whatever they needed to be successful in life. My brother Rob, who was younger, who always wanted to play with the older boys, giving us both hours of practice, no matter what the sport was. He even walked around for 2 days when we were kids after I broke his leg in the backyard playing soccer when I told him not to tell mom and dad. So he was a real trooper. My little sister Nicole was the youngest, and she got dragged to numerous sporting events over the years in the back of the minivan with her Dramamine and Cabbage Patch dolls, but she supported all of us. Back to my parents. My siblings and I were truly blessed when it came to the love and support we were provided. I can probably count on one hand the number of games my parents missed, number of home games my parents missed my whole career, from elementary school through college. My mom is here today. My dad is no longer with us, but I just want you to know how much your sacrifice and unconditional love meant to Rob, Nicole, and myself. Much love, Mom. Then there's my college family, my teammates, my coaches, my roommates, my friends, which amazingly blended together, as I stated before. I would know I would not be here today without every single one of you. Thank you for the 4 years you pushed me, supported me, and drove me to want to be a better player and teammate. The coaches, Coach Velan, Coach Wytock, Coach Pasinolak. Thank you for believing in me and giving me a chance to play the game that I love for a few more years. My roommates and friends, Vern, Toch, Rico, Lonnie, Liska, Taco, Smitty, Moose, Roger, Fishbowl, Sluggo, Dirt, Strawberry, Plug, and Beaver. And I know I missed so many more. I could not have handpicked a better cast of characters to share this experience with. We truly loved and cared about each other, and we always had each other's back. The first thing I think about when I think about my time at Oneonta is you fellas. And lastly, I want to thank my family, my wife Mandy, my 5 kids, Jamie, Laurel, Logan, Cameron, and Jack. Thanks for sharing this crazy thing called life with me. I love you all. Again, I am truly humbled and honored to be part of this select group and join the Hall of Fame. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Couldn't find that picture. It was the only one we had. Personally, right, that's definitely the 80s. That's the 80s hairstyle, right?
Yeah.
I grew up in the 80s, too. I know I don't look that old, but...
It'll be there forever.
Yep, it'll be forever enshrined. It's a great picture. Next individual, as I alluded to earlier, certainly I was trying to think of it, and I think this next individual might be the 4th or 5th catcher that we've inducted as part of Coach Axtell's squads during his time here. Coach Axtell, I know the important positions, right? You need a good backstop or you can't win games. And I know that we've had quite a few over the years that we've inducted that, you know, that's the MO for Coach Axtell. Pitching and catchers, right? So certainly an individual who became a leader on our team, is a leader now, even as an alum, has helped us do some things related to Coach Axtell. Naming the scoreboard after Coach Axtell. He certainly was one of the first people to raise his hand and say, I want to help out in any way I can. You know, so that's the kind of people that Coach Axtell had and he recruited and that played for him. They just loved him dearly. And we know that because every time we see these guys, all they do is talk about Dom and what he meant to them as, you know, he was a father to them. I mean, that's what coaches do. They mentor, they're role models, and they help them through this thing called college, which can be pretty tough unless you have people to support you and help you navigate. So I know that he's with us here today, and he's very proud of you, and I'm glad that you are here. All-conference player, catcher, 4-year player, co-captain for a couple of years. Please help me welcome into our Hall of Fame, Christopher Williams from baseball.
Do have prepared remarks. I'm really a nice guy. I know that's a tough picture, but I'm really a nice guy. For those of you who are wondering, my wife did dress me today, so I am wearing some red. You just can't see it. Anytime you're bestowed an honor like this into the Hall of Fame, you certainly don't do something like this alone. So there are many, many folks that I'd like to thank. First, I want to thank the college, President Cardelli. Ryan, thank you for kicking things off today. Appreciate it. It's nice to meet you, even though you're from Portland. We won't hold that against you. I want to thank members of the selection committee, including Don Flewelling. I've known Don for a long time. It's good to see you, pal. Jeff Hazard, thank you so much. Appreciate that introduction. And you're right, Coach Axtell was like a father to us. Sorry if I get a little emotional here. I had some great athletic directors throughout my career. I would like to recognize Al Sosa, Steve Garner, and of course Tracy Oneonta. Tracy, I appreciate your partnership with everything that we've done for Coach and recognizing my era in baseball. So thank you so much. I was fortunate enough to have some very good Little League coaches. Mel Samus, Bob Sorreo, Coach Ward, Coach McCabe, and my first coach, my father, Barry Williams. He's not here with us today, but I'm sure he's looking down. In fact, my dad was the one who, told me to become a catcher. I said, "Dad, I want to pitch." He said, "You're gonna throw your arm out, kid." And so Dad, dawned me with the tools of ignorance. So I want to certainly thank him for that. And I miss you. I had some great high school coaches, Russ Tejan, Tim Mundell, who is an alumni here, who was one of the reasons why I came to Oneonta. He actually introduced me to Coach Axtell, so thank you, Tim. Hopefully you're watching. And then the legendary John DeMartini, Northport baseball coach. I had the fortune of being one of his captains in high school. I obviously had some impeccable college coaches. Tim Harkness, who was our coach's assistant in '92 and '93. I think Lou, I think you know Tim. He's a great guy. Definitely one of Axtell's disciples. And then obviously Coach Don Axtell, who was like a father. And Jeff pretty much said it real well. Coach really taught us more about life than it was about baseball. I see a lot of his former players back there. You guys paved the way for us in the 90s to kind of finish. Coach Axtell had 4 decades of greatness. 4 decades. Think of that. 4 decades of developing players who committed to excellence. And you see a lot of them in the field house up on that board. So he's just a tremendous man, and we'll get to him a little bit more down the line. I know I only have 5 minutes, but I'll try to go a little quicker. I'd like to thank my co-captains, Ed Hickey and Rich Younger, in '92 and '93. I was fortunate enough to be a co-captain for 2 years, which there are only a handful of folks that can actually say that. As far as my players, certainly. I had some great accolades as a player. We had players like Brooks Alexander. Brooksy, thank you so much for supporting my campaign to the Hall of Fame. Wouldn't be here without you, brother. Chris Sicaro, who hit a 3-run home run off Billy Wagner when we went down south. We played Ferrum. Was a great player. Chris Carlson, Joe Mancini, Gooch Flanagan, Chris Tilden, Stu Johnson with a rocket arm, Lou Lara, who was so sweet at shortstop, Stu Taub. I'm sure there's many others. I also want to thank my family and friends. I have a big family. I have a lot of folks with me today. My mom, who's 80 years young. Thank you, Mom, for supporting my passion for baseball. She looks beautiful, doesn't she? My brother Kevin, who is still a sucker for an outside pitch, right? Yeah, we used to play stoop ball outside, so always used to play with Kevin. My lovely wife, Tracy, thank you, honey. We have a big family, and she is certainly my third base coach. who does God's work and taking care of very sick children for Angela's house. So thank you. I have my son Brandon, Chris Jr., Zachary, my daughter Grace, and I think we have Brianna and Sam either dialing in on a webcast or somewhere on FaceTime. So I just want to thank them for taking the moment to have this moment with me. I also want to thank a friend, Ricky Andoli, Hall of Famer. Thanks, Rick, for driving up. I appreciate it. We've forged a friendship over the last couple of years, and always enjoy talking to you, my friend. Some of those memories that come back are just invaluable, so thank you. I want to thank the Axtell family for coming, Coach's wife, Joanne, and John and Jody. Thank you so much for hosting us last night at Brooks Barbecue. We just had a fantastic time, and again, just the stories of Coach really kind of bring him here today. So thank you so much for coming and supporting me. I do have some memories. I would say, I'll be brief with this. I would say my best memory is the 92 and 93 season that we had. Those teams were very competitive. Like I said, we went down south. Coach's favorite kind of time of year was when we did go on our southern trip down to Virginia. It's really where we kind of bonded as a team. We started in 92 when we faced Billy Wagner. I think we lost 6-3. We came back with a tremendous amount of swagger. You know, one thing about Coach Axtell is, you know, he was all about the daily process, right? And, you know, as I kind of developed later on in life, I really understood, you know, you hear people say leaders are made daily. They're not made in a day. You know, and I think so many people focus on the end result, right, and not the daily things that are going to get them to that end result. And that's really what Coach was all about, is that daily process and discipline. And our practices weren't sexy. They were very fundamentally sound. But I mean, that was his priority, was to get us disciplined and focused. And we did have some great teams that had some great results. But at the end of the day, if you take care of what you have to on a daily basis, you will reach your end goal. And the one thing I would tell my kids, shoot high, shoot for the stars, raise the bar, right guys? Raise the bar. Because I wanted to be a Major League Baseball player, but look at where I am now. The Oneonta Athletic Hall of Fame is not a bad place to be. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks again, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Well, we got to induct our final member of our class. I don't want him to think that I did this because he was the oldest member, but I tell you, he still looks like he could play soccer and tennis, I'm telling you. This gentleman, elder statesman, when I first called him on the phone, I don't even know if he even remembered that we remembered who he was from that time, because again, the records were not as great to be able to recognize some individuals from that time. But once I got to know him, wonderful, wonderful. He still plays golf, a couple times a week or so. Still out there, still active. Like I said, look at him. He looks great. I hope I look that good when I'm that age, I tell you. He was a standout in two sports, which when you think about it, soccer and tennis are quite different when you think about what is involved in playing those two activities. But he excelled at both, and he was our #1 singles and doubles player for our men's tennis squad, which had some very successful seasons during that time, and also was a member of our men's soccer team, which also had some very good teams during that time. As you can see in the program, 26-11-1 during the time when he was here, which is pretty outstanding. And he was a defender, which again, you don't get a lot of stats as a defender, but he proved to be worthy on the back line and keeping other teams from scoring a lot of goals. So He spent his entire professional career as an educator, attaining superintendent status and doing, again, making an impact on lives of young men, boys and girls, men and women that aspire to someday maybe go to college. And so he spent his entire professional career doing just that. And again, we're proud to have him as an Oneonta grad. So please help me welcome Lee Aldrich to our athletic hall of fame.
Might be the youngest picture up there, but it's the oldest guy up here. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Jeff for his persistence in bringing this whole thing together. I am really honored and humbled to be up here. And I also would like to congratulate my fellow nominees for their outstanding accomplishments. A special thanks to the review committee who has chosen these outstanding candidates to represent this great college. I would love to thank my two coaches, Mr. Garth Stam and Dr. Chase, for their outstanding leadership and mentorship for both athletics and truly life lessons. When I arrived on campus in 1959, I was drawn to the Oneonta State family atmosphere, and I think Dr. Kennedy said that pretty nicely. I, like everyone else, to welcome, I felt that I was welcomed with open arms, and I felt everyone on campus was truly welcomed with open arms. Family is something that has always been very important to me, and the Oneonta provided that experience for all of us. It is amazing to see the changes in Oneonta over the years. In 1959 through 63, Oneonta had less than 900 students attending college here. Old Main, which several people in this room remember, was the campus center, and almost all of the classes were held in this one single building. It also housed administrative offices, locker rooms, and a library. To get to the upper campus, you followed the pathway from Old Main all the way up to the upper campus. The upper campus itself consisted of several female dorms, a new building that housed the home economics department, the mathematics department, and the science department. Also that year, a new library was constructed. As a male student, we had to find our own campus housing. And we lived off campus because there was no male housing on the upper campus at all. And I do think things have changed over the years. There's no question about that. I give you this history lesson as a background for a memorable Oneonta experience. Dr. Nesser, which I see his name up on the wall up there in one of the buildings, was the college president and wanted to move library books from Old Main to the newly constructed library in 1960. How would you do that today? Well, what would you do? Go out and hire a moving company, right? Nice and easy, right? But the Oneonta family didn't do that. Everyone turned out to help. Students, professors, administrators, coaches, town people, and even students from Hartwick College came to do that. A human chain was formed, and each book was passed from Old Main up the hill to the brand new library. It came off one shelf and was put on the other shelf. How did it work? Well, the new library was open for business Monday morning. And that's amazing with a family. It really is. That is what the Oneonta family is all about, and one of my finest memories. But the most lasting memory was meeting a young lady who was also a student at Oneonta at that time. She became my best friend, confidant, and in several days we will be married 59 years. And today I walked in, and Danny Baldo and Gwen Stein, Mr. and Mrs. Baldo, will be also married 59 years. Congratulations to you guys also. We have 3 fabulous sons, 3 daughter-in-laws, 9 grandchildren, and I am truly blessed for a man of my time with the Oneonta family and my own family itself. And thank you very much for this great honor. It's been truly a pleasure.
If we could hear it one more time for our Hall of Fame induction class. Incredible. Once again, on behalf of the Hall of Fame Committee and the college, I would just love to, again, thank you for coming and sharing some time with us again. It was an intimate location, and I really think it was an outstanding day. And the stories, again, you understand why Oneonta is so incredible to these people, the impact, the lives. For me, seeing the families and the young families and the grandchildren and all that, this is what it's about. You share it. Exactly as Lee said, it's a family. And it's just an amazing, amazing thing to be able to honor them as the legends of Oneonta. That's what they are. They are legends of Oneonta. So I want to thank you again for all coming, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. And at this time, families and friends can get together and take as many photos as you like. And there is champagne and some more snacks. Refreshments in the side, so please take advantage of that. And thank you all for coming, and we'll see you next year. If we could have all the Hall of Famers stand by their plaques, we'd like to get a group photo of the Hall of Famers next to their plaques.